I want to bring in Tony Montalto. He is the president of Stand with Parkland. His daughter, Gina, was killed at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, back in 2018. Tony, my condolences to you, to your family. I know that losing a loved one is not a hole that can ever be filled, and I imagine hearing things like this brings you back. So what goes through your mind and what emotions do you feel in a day like today?
Well, when you hear the news about a school shooting, it does bring back the horrible memories of finding out that our forever 14-year-old daughter, Gina, was murdered in her school. It's something that you never get over. The best you can hope for is finding a way to move through each day. That being said, there are many things that can be done. I, too, know the pain, as the president just talked about, of not being able to tuck my little girl in and to see her grow into a woman. And I'm very sympathetic to the families in Texas this evening who are going through the most horrible part of waiting for the reunification process. And also, once they find out that their loved one was murdered at school, it's a terrible thing.
Your organization advocates for public safety reforms, particularly in schools. What do you think needs to be done to better protect our children and prevent senseless shootings like the one that took Gina's life and the one that we saw in Texas?
Well, Stand with Parkland, the National Association of Families for Safe Schools, was founded by the families who had a loved one murdered. Both children and adults at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018. We've come together to advocate for pragmatic reforms. We have a uniquely inclusive message. We work on both sides of the aisle. And we work for what we call improvements to the school safety triad, which is improving the campus security, promoting better mental health screening and support programs, and finally, if you choose to own one, responsible firearms ownership. Because all three of those things failed our families on that terrible day in 2018. Some of the pragmatic things that can be done are passing red flag laws. Nationally, we have a bill in the Senate, S-292, that was put out by Senator Scott. Senator Rubio has support from Senator King and Senator Reid. So it's a bipartisan bill that will fund states that pass red flag laws. For those of you that aren't familiar with red flag laws are laws that if somebody's deemed a threat to themselves or others after a due process period, their firearms are removed until they can prove that they're no longer a threat. We passed one of these laws in Florida, sadly, after the shooting, but it's been used over 5,000 times. And despite prophecies that the sky would fall, everything would turn horribly wrong. We've seen it used 5,000 times. We've seen people in Florida protected. We've seen people that are still able to protect themselves and still able to hunt. So it's a very middle of the road position that we could take. So we encourage the president to start looking at some of these middle of the road things that it can actually get done.
5,000 times, you say, there in your home state of Florida, people were protected. You're talking about bipartisan, supported, common sense ideas. Do you have hope that lawmakers will be able to come together at a national level to do more to prevent mass shootings, or do you really think that this has to happen on a state-by-state basis?
Well, frankly, we've met fantastic people on both sides of the aisle. Sadly, we haven't met enough of them that are willing to actually vote and make a change. You know, these red flag laws, President Trump supported them in the after the shooting in Parkland. President Biden has supported them. We have the two leaders of the Democratic and the Republican parties supporting them, and we have Congress failing to act. So yeah, let's have congressional leaders act on bills that can bring us together. Another such bill would be the Eagles Act. The Eagles Act is in both the House and the Senate with bipartisan support. It's named after the mascot at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. This bill would increase funding to the U.S. Secret Service and the National Threat Assessment Center to allow them to do more research on how to prevent school shootings, and then take that information and do training out in all of our school districts so that individual school districts had a chance to identify and prevent these tragedies before somebody resorts to violence. We've seen pushback on that from the left, the same way we've seen pushback on firearms things from the right. We need to stop paying attention to the people on the left and the people on the right and start listening to the folks in the middle, the folks that are just like the president, sick and tired of watching our school children be murdered at school. It's incumbent on the government to protect our children, and we need everyone to come together as an American family and look at what unites us. And what unites us more than wanting our children and our teachers to be safe at school?
Come together as an American family. Powerful words. When you're talking about this, when you say that there is political will from leaders of both parties, why do you think that more hasn't been accomplished at the federal level?
Well, frankly, the people have not supported, have not come forward and expressed what they want and what they need. We have to stop looking at the extremes of both parties. That's not going to accomplish anything. We need to look at what we can get done in the middle. We need to have a conversation where people can talk together about that kind of thing and find a way to move forward.
Tony, if you're still there, I wanted to ask you one other question. I spoke with Manuel Oliver, who lost his son, and I want to pose the same question to you. There are parents tonight who are getting the worst news of their life. You uniquely can relate to them. What message do you have for them?
Well, just take time to remember your lost loved one. Take time to grieve and lean on others to help you. It's a long road till you're able to breathe again and see what's around you. And we hold those families in our hearts, but we know that more needs to be done. So Congress, please take a look at some of these pragmatic steps that we can move forward with. We need you to make positive change.
It's a club that nobody wants to be a part of. If
That's
lawmakers are listening to you right now, or people in positions of power, what is the one message you want to give them?
I would just say that we need to find ways to solve problems. Inaction is not acceptable because we lose our loved ones, we lose our children, we lose America's future when teachers and students are taken in the schools. We have to find a way to come together as Americans, and our leaders need to lead us to these pragmatic solutions that will help prevent these issues from occurring.
Tony, remind us, how old would Gina be now?
Gina would be 19. She would have just finished her freshman year of college. Gina was a great kid, excellent student. She loved helping others. And it's remembering her and the others who were lost that day. That's why we formed Stand with Parkland, to make sure that their lives weren't lost in vain.
We hold you all in our hearts. Tony